By 2020 then, every employee in Ontario will have the added retirement security of either the Ontario Retirement Pension Plan or a comparable workplace pension plan.
If you're earning $60,000 a year, this would be a $1,000 hit against your take-home pay.
Ontario Premier Kathleen Wynne yesterday outlined why her province is rolling out the Ontario Retirement Pension Plan, and Conservative leader Stephen Harper was quick to reiterate why a federal government would not help administer the plan alongside the Canada Pension Plan. Roughly 50% of workers in Ontario do not have a workplace pension plan or contribute to an RRSP. Under this plan, workers between the ages of 18 and 70 are eligible. If approved, the ORPP would provide coverage to roughly 3.5 million Ontarians, with employers and employees splitting the cost. Enrollment would begin in 2017, with benefits paid out to workers starting in 2022. Time for the big picture. Goldie Hyder is the President and CEO of Hill & Knowlton Strategies. Angela McEwen, Senior Economist with the Canadian Labour Congress. And Goldie, let's start with, we've had this discussion at all levels. I mean, the feds are also looking at how to get people saving and how to help. The TFSA was aimed, I think, at that. Why is this not a good approach when we can quantify that there are a number of people that don't have any form of pension or savings plan, and this says, here, you're going to save, we're going to make you do it?
Well, first of all, look, give credit where credit's due. The Premier ran on this. This was in her platform. Ontarians voted for it for a majority government, so she's executing on that promise. The issue is it the right thing to do? Is it the role for government? And is now the time to do it, even if you believe in one? And that's, I think, the central issue that the Prime Minister is raising, but so are other people across the country, is this plan may end up hurting the Ontario economy more than it will help people save. And the return on that investment is in the short term probably going to be harmful to the economy, because it's going to mean jobs probably lost in cases where people say, look, I can't afford as an employer to match this, or I think you'll see some rejigging of current plans that are done to offset the idea that there's actually going to be any gain. So what was it all for is something that I think the Premier and the government are probably going to have to watch very carefully.
Angela, what's your take on that? There are vocal critics of this, not just the Prime Minister, but also many other groups who say exactly some of those things, that it will kill jobs, that it will actually take money out of people's pockets at a very important time of their life when they want to save for a home, for instance.
That this might be difficult for them. So I think Premier Wynne has been really responsive to that in delaying the implementation and giving people time to adjust. The other thing that we have to remember is that this isn't a tax. This is money that's going into savings. That money will be invested in the economy, and then that money will be paid back later in benefits. So those people will have more money in their pockets later on to spend at local businesses. So this is an investment sort of in a long-term healthy economy. And then the other thing that we want to point out is that because it is part of delayed wages, that money is a deduction basically for businesses. They don't pay tax on that because it's money that's going to the employees. So
one of the things, I want both of you to address this, but I'll come to you, Goldie. This obviously addresses a policy problem we have in this country, which is that workers no longer get company pensions in large number, and when they do, they're not great pensions, but increasingly no coverage at all. So if you want to fix that, you want to say we want to find a way for companies to share the burden of labor's costs over a lifetime, which I think is a decent enough goal in some ways.
And they're doing it now.
The problem I have with this is if I am working for a company that doesn't offer a pension, but I'm being paid very well and managing to save in my RSP and my TFSA, this would not allow me to do that. This would actually insist that I invest in this versus one of those alternatives if I'm maxing out. And I find that a little bit intrusive into people's rights.
And I think there are many people out there who will agree with you, because it's in some ways, especially now that they're unable to say what the costs are. So while people are almost frozen waiting to see what the plan looks like, how much it costs, how much will I be able to contribute, what is the employer obligation to this, there's almost a chill. as a result. And so you're not doing some of that other stuff as you wait to figure out whether maybe this is the plan I should be investing. So that's maybe a growing pain issue, but it's nevertheless a real issue. The other thing, and your question really is one of, is it the job of the government to ensure that I have a pension for my retirement? And it's a shared responsibility that exists today. I think more effort should be put into augmenting and enhancing the plans that are available to people, and I think that's happening. But the question is whether this is going to be the best way of doing it. Time will tell. I think in the short term, the timing in and of itself is not the best.
Angela, I want you to weigh in. I mean, how do we balance this, the need for people to have saved and have pensions, because it's a collective need, otherwise we're going to pay a deep price down the road, against not wanting to have a kind of nanny state interference in how it happens?
So the Canadian pension plan replaces about 25% of your earnings. That's less generous than most other OECD or G20 countries, right? The United States Social Security Plan is actually more generous. It pays a higher proportion. I think it's up to 35% over more earnings. So CPP, as it's set up, assumed some employer contributions, which is waning, and people are moving between employers more often. They're moving in and out of self-employment. They're working multiple jobs, and they're moving between provinces. So expanding the CPP is actually the most effective way, and there's lots of room there for government to mandate some level of insurance savings there, right, without actually breaking into private demand for savings at all.
I think an area
the other issue, actually, sorry, is the timing. So if you look at CPP when it was enhanced in the mid-1990s, there were all of these cries at that time that it would destroy jobs in the economy. And we've looked at economic indicators comparing what was done then to what the economy is at now. And what matters more is the broader health of the economy, not this 1.9% increase in
I think one of the things that Angela and I would agree on, I hope, is the importance of just financial literacy. The importance of introducing that early in people's lives before they get to the stage where they panic. Let's create good behavior, good practices. Spend some of that money in education programs and financial literacy so that people understand what it means to save.
We should note also we're out of time, but there is some dispute about just how bad this savings crisis is and whether more people are ready for retirement than we are led to believe often. It's a subject for another day.